Hi guys, Phil here, welcome back to simracing for another video. It's been a while since we've uploaded a video, but we've been flat out with doing all sorts of things like liveries and everything going on, but it's great to be back, and today we're going to look at the Automobilista 2 version 1, which has just been released. I personally think it's fantastic. I think it's gotten even better since the last version which they released, but I'm going to talk you through my thoughts on it and take you through some of my favourite cars and tracks on the game as well. So let's go and jump into our first car, which is a bit of a surprise. Now, a lot of people think with a racing simulator like this, it's all about the race cars, and for me, in this case, not so much. This car is an absolute beaut. This is the Chevrolet Camaro SS 2020 version. It's the latest spec car. It's got 450 odd horsepower, 6-speed 8-pattern gearbox, not an automatic with paddle shift, and of course it's got standard road tyres, so it tends to move around quite a lot. It hasn't got as much grip as you think, but it's an awful lot of fun to drive. So let's jump into the sim and give it a thrash. Okay, so on track in the Camaro. We're at one of my favourite original tracks from the original Automobilista, which is the Brasilia Outer Loop. Now it's very basic, just for nearly 90-degree right-handers and a left-handed sweep. But that doesn't mean it's boring. It's a lot of fun to drive because the corners are very quick, they have a bit of camber to them, and you can really slide the car through them, so they're great fun to drive. Now, the Camaro, as I said, is a standard road car, so as such it has standard road suspension, albeit tuned suspension because it's obviously a high-performance car, but that does mean there's an element of wallowing around, which makes it quite an entertaining drive. And of course those standard road tyres also make it quite fun when trying to get all that horsepower down onto the road, so there's an awful lot of that, a lot of sliding, a lot of oversteer everywhere. But it's great. It's good fun to drive. It's been putting a huge smile on my face all morning. I've been driving this. Power on through the last corner there. Now obviously it doesn't have the same performance as a race car. You don't have the same braking distances. But that's all part of the charm of driving one of these cars on track. You kind of have to balance the car on the throttle. There's quite a bit of understeer. If you just try and drive the corner normally like you would in a race car with lots of aero and lots of mechanical grip, there's a lot of understeer, so you have to kind of be ready for that and kind of aim at the apex and then coax it through the corner with some right foot and it gets out the side of the other end of the corner very well, and you're already off on the way to the next corner with such a good amount of power into the bonnet. I just love it, kind of backs into the corners like that, stay off that curve on the inside. So you kind of have to be ready to catch the slide on the way in, which is all part of the fun. Power on. See, we're already balancing the car through there. It's so nice to drive. I reckon this could be a lot of fun to drive online with other people as well. Get a group of friends together, have a race in these Camaros. You won't regret it. And obviously when you get to some of the more technical circuits where there's lots more tight corners going on, it might be a different story to drive, but around here I could just keep going and going. Oh, that's a bit quick into there. Got away with it though. Bit of traction control kicking in, but not too much. There's enough just to kind of prevent the car from being too oversteery, but just enough to allow a little bit of slide as well, which makes it more fun for the driver. So that's it. That's our first car that we're looking at today, which is the Chevrolet Camaro SS. What else do we like about Automobilista 2? Yes, now it was inevitable we're going to get onto race cars eventually, being a race simulator. This is potentially going to be a lot of people's favourite choice of car in the game, I reckon. The Formula Retro, as it's now known in the sim, but as you can see in front of us we have a Lotus 72 and a Brabham as well, and behind 1970s eras of Formula 1 cars, big rear slicks, big tall airboxes, Cosworth DFE engines underneath them, so lots of power. Not very much grip, not very much aero, and a lot of sliding around as well. So I think this is going to be a favourite one with a lot of people. Let's jump in and see what it drives like. Okay, so here we are on track in the Lotus 72. We're at Spielberg historic version, which is essentially the old Ostrike ring. People would know this modern day version as the Red Bull ring. So you may find some similar track layouts going on. But as you can see, being historic and kind of period for these cars, there's not very much in the way of trackside safety. You have a couple of Armco barriers and some flimsy fencing to stop you from meeting the spectators who have come to see you. But what about these cars? They are a handful. They have a lot of power, and although they have quite big slicks, those slicks don't have a great deal of grip. And especially with the huge slicks at the back and the tiny little ones at the front by comparison. They're still not particularly small, but by comparison to the rears they're quite small. There's an awful lot of grip difference between the front and the rear, so you have to be a bit careful. So they do like to go sideways, but when they do go sideways, they tend to snap sideways. So you have to be ready to catch at any moment if you put that power down just a little bit too hastily. Just got to feed the power in nice and gentle. Just over that press there, it tends to go light, so it's easy to have the car go sideways on you. Down to the last corner here. Again, this is very basic in terms of technology from what we know F1 is today. You have an H-pattern gearbox, a steering wheel, a rev counter, a couple of other gauges for good measure, and that's about it. Your control comes from your right foot and your hand inputs. This first corner is so quick. Comes from a very dangerous era of Formula 1, where unfortunately a lot of drivers ended up laying down their lives in pursuit of their passion. But the great thing about simulation is that it allows us to experience what it would be like driving one of these cars in one of these situations, but with minimised risk. I think the only injury I'm going to get from here is if I sprain my wrists with the oversteer if I have the force feedback up too high. There's that snap. Well, I survived. So the cars are very challenging to drive, but the force feedback does help a lot in terms of figuring out what the car's doing underneath you. Now, a lot of people I know are saying, oh, AMS2, Automobilista 2 is just a Project Cars 2 version 2.5, but for me, no. It isn't. This is a title all on its own. Sure, it uses the same engine. There are a lot of similarities in terms of UI layouts and heads-up display, the way it looks and things like that. However, I really feel that AMS2 is worthy of being its own separate title, which of course it is. But the guys at Reiza have done a fantastic job with the force feedback. It's very detailed. If you've seen my video on the Ferrari 488 GTE, which I did a comparison between Project Cars 2, iRacing and rFactor 2, you would have seen my thoughts on the force feedback in Project Cars 2, which is very non-existent. It's there, but it doesn't really tell you an awful lot about what's going on underneath you. Whereas in this, you do feel that and a whole lot more. It's very detailed and it's very natural to drive as well, which is always a good thing. It's always a bonus to be able to drive a car and have a almost natural sense of what's going to happen next. Let's try and get through there without dying, which we did. But yeah, Formula Retro, good fun to drive. Bit of a challenge, but I know a lot of sim racers enjoy a good challenge, so this will be high up on their list, I'm sure. But definitely worthy of checking them out, and I'm sure they'll make for some very entertaining racing as well. Just be aware of other people having their own little moments like I do. So, what else do we like about Automobilista 2? Okay, so this is one of my favourites. Reiza Studios started out doing their simulators based around the stock car V8 series from Brazil, and they've done very well with them. It's a very, very popular series. A lot of people love driving them. And for 2020, the series has had an overhaul in terms of technical regulations, so they have new cars and new formats, etc. And this is a representation of the 2020 V8 stock car series. So we have the Chevrolet Cruze, and we also have Toyota Corolla body shells as well. The cars look a little bit less like a silhouette like the old stock cars used to. They used to look more like a DTM style car, but now they're more geared towards a more of a stock appearance, more of a touring car type appearance. So they still got the V8 under the bonnet, so they're still very high powered, lots of grip, etc. They're using the same chassis, in fact, but the overall appearance looks very different. But I think they're going to be great fun to drive in racing as well as just driving in general. So let's hop in and see how it drives. Okay, so here we are in the V8 stock car. We've come to a Brazilian circuit called Londrina. We're on the long version, which has the elongated second corner here. Very tricky first corner actually. You're braking and turning into this tight left-hander here. And the great thing about Automobilista 2 is because Reiza have focused on the Brazilian stock car series, that also brings along with them several Brazilian circuits, which many people wouldn't really ever even have the opportunity to race on. And this Londrina circuit is one of those circuits which is just so good. It's a shame that it doesn't get picked up on in other simulators as well. Some good elevation changes, the corners are nice and fast and flowing, a good rhythm around here as well. And in these 2020 versions of the stock cars, this is a great combo. Now the car itself, obviously, big V8 underneath the bonnet. It also has no ABS, so you've got to be careful on the brakes. And on your right foot, because it's very easy for them to slide out of corners. Now the old stock cars, I remember a lot of people had a few issues with driving them because they didn't drive like you would expect them to. They had very unique handling. But this new version actually feels quite neutral actually, and quite steady and stable, and reacts just like you would expect a V8 touring car to handle. Now it is slightly heavy, you can feel it the way it moves around on track, but with all the power that you have under your control, you don't really notice it too badly. It's still lively enough to have an interesting drive. Again, you're balancing the car on here through the brakes, just about get it slowed down, sliding the car on the exit. Now I reckon there could be some good racing to be had in these, whether it be online in public lobbies or online leagues which run this car. But you can also race quite well with the AI on them as well. The AIs have a good tweaking. They still have their moments, as all AI usually does. But on the whole, they behave quite well. And you can have a good battle with them. As soon as you get those settings right, they are very evenly matched and you can have a good race. Which is also something you can do now in championship mode, because that's now been enabled with version 1 of this release. You can do a very simple championship, only with the stock cars as far as I know. They have limited capability at the moment, but more will come eventually. So if you like offline championships and career modes, that's something for you. But I suspect most of the racing in this will be done online. And I think it'll be very popular. The Again, the force feedback is on point. You feel all the bumps, you feel the movement of the car underneath you as well. And it's, yeah, it's a really good car to drive. I really enjoy driving this one. I'm sure you will as well. A bit too much there. They are lively, that's for sure. Gotta put in a fair amount of wheel work sometimes just to keep the car going in the right direction. Just feeling the balance of the car, especially through here. Just chuck it into the left. It's a good combo of corners, that one. So the stock car 2020 version, I love it. Feels really good to drive. But there's one other car I want to show you, which I probably enjoy driving just a little bit more. Can you guess what it is? Okay, that's probably a little unfair. I actually enjoy driving a lot of the cars in AMS2, but this particular one, the Ginetta G55 GT4 Super Cup car, is really nice. I really do enjoy driving this one. But there's others, you know, there's the Copa Montana pickup truck V8s, there's, you know, the super trucks, there's so many different things and varieties of car and kart, truck to actually drive in AMS2, and there's a lot of fun to be had in all of them. But of the new stuff that's been released in version 1, I think probably my pick for my favourite car to drive is this new Ginetta. So we're going to take it out on track around Alton Park, of course, because that's one of my favourites. And let's see how it drives. Okay, so we're up over the line here at Alton Park in the little Ginetta. We've got another car in front of us for company. I figured this video had a lot of V8s in it already, so let's switch things up again with a 6-cylinder engine this time. But this Ginetta is so good. I know this appears in Project Cars 2 and everyone's going to be like, oh, this is a Project Cars 2 clone. So what? I don't really care. If it drives good, sounds good, then I'm happy. We're on the international circuit here, as you can see. We're not going, not on the international, on the island circuit. We're not going down to Shellow's Head this time round. But this Ginetta, again, force feedback is outstanding. Let's see if we can get past this guy in front of us here. He's a bit slow. Good run out of Knickerbrook. Let's see if we can get him into Druids. It's going to be a bit dicey, but... oh, don't block me there. No, let's check it up the inside there, I don't think. They're quite wide, these Ginettas, so you've got to pick your spot, especially here at Alton Park. Down to Lodge Corner. The cars are very lively, which is good. Again, running slick tyres. It's a proper GT car this, so quite a bit of grip. Not much aero grip, but it doesn't matter when you have some good mechanical grip to compensate for it. But again, the car is nicely balanced. You've got to drive it on the limit, but with a degree of finesse. Going on the brakes there. But again, fantastic racing to be had with this. I mean, there's prototype cars and there's other GT cars in the works as well, as far as I know. So it's going to sit quite nicely in the lineup for cars for Automobilista 2. Definitely slower through Knickerbrook. So it's going to block me right, we're left. It's going to be the end. Oh, he's sending me back. Okay. As you can see, the AI are no pushover. They'll give as good as they get. Oh, that's a bit of a dive bomb. Oops. Sorry. inside going down to Old Hall now. Oh, a bit of oversteer on the way in, power out of it, and we got him. A bit robust. Not how I'd normally like to overtake, but got the job done. But yeah, the car turns in nicely. Obviously you can change various setup options if you want to, but in its standard basic form, the car drives very well. And again, good fun for online championships, online league races. But it just shows the depth of understanding that the guys at Reiza have in terms of car physics and how they best work in game. We've driven 4 very different cars, and each one of them feels very, very drivable, very believable, very realistic to me. You know, drive just as you would expect them to. Oh dear, the curve went inside though, but able to catch it because the force feedback told me it was happening. That's a large corner again. This is a great fun. But what's your favourite car? Do you like the Super V8s? Do you like the sprint race cars? The karts? Formula 3 cars? The F1 cars? There's lots of different Formula 1 cars in Automobilista 2, varying different eras and engines and all sorts to enjoy and play around with. Well, what's your favourite car? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you and your thoughts. Your overall thoughts on Automobilista 2. Maybe you've tried it and you, like me, you enjoy it a lot. Or maybe you're a bit underwhelmed. That's okay. As I say in all my videos, we all have our own opinions, we all have things we like and dislike. But let us know your thoughts on the game. What do you like? What do you not like? But if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a good old like on the like button below. If you really like the video, maybe you should consider subscribing to the channel. There'll be more content coming soon, and we're always doing fun sim racing challenges because that's what sim racing is all about, having lots of fun. But until next time, we'll see you soon.